Hello, everybody. My name is Julian Matthews. Remembering my mother. I remember my mother through Tamil swear words. Words like sanyan, nuisance, muttal, idiot, korangu, monkey, and her favorite for me, koluppu, which is literally the fatty side of a meat, or metaphorically being too spoiled or entitled to do something quite easily done. When I was 12 and followed her to have my identity card, now my card done, I remember my mother was scolded by the officer behind the counter for defacing my birth certificate. You see, she had scribbled in blue ballpointing the precise time and day of my birthday in the margins, possibly for a fortune teller reading in the future. I imagine she swore her choice Tamil words under her breath then. We've all been there in this country when authority meets the other and decides to pull rank and show loud disdain to purposely shame. His anger and her seat like hot steam on the glass counter window between us are ingrained in my brain. My feisty mother held her ground, glared a deathly stare at him, and we got my IC without further fuss. My mother didn't look like other mothers. She was either Chinese or Japanese. We're still not sure. Because she was adopted at 2 weeks old by my Indian grandmother. If you can imagine a very 5-foot, very fair woman who speaks fluent Tamil, dressed up in a sari and wears a pottu, that would be her. She turned heads wherever she went. She was betrothed to my dad at age 15 or maybe 14. Times were different back then. It was a mere 4 years after World War II, and Malaya was recovering from the occupation. My Ceylonese Catholic dad was 30 and was too besotted anyway by this diminutive Chinese-looking Hindu gal. Dad often teased her as his Guru Bombale, village girl, who tied the knot with an English-trained first division government officer, as if to say she married above her station, even though she was from the city, KL, and to her credit on the domestic front, far more functional. She would sneer every time this empty boast was brought up, calling him in turn, Karpa Sutta Velakara, black ass white man. Despite their differences, Mom was a loyal wife and loving, protective mother. By her own admission, she had only a standard 2 education, but she learned to jaga anak, cook, bake, and sew clothes on her own. Mom was street smart and a hard bargainer with everyone else she dealt with. Wet market vendors, shopkeepers, stall owners, and school bus drivers who would shake their heads and give in to the asking price of this tiny, stubborn woman. In good times, Mom laughed, a loud, hearty, catchy laugh when tickled by Dad's bawdy songs or his comedic misadventures. Sometimes she'd join in with her own spin on the tales through happy tears. They were a double act and a riot at family gatherings. Everyone relished their camaraderie, and despite difficulties, laughter was the glue that held our family together in the worst of times. By the time she reached the age of 30, Mom had 6 children. They lost one at birth and lived the life of a woman twice her age. I have a theory. I believe our mothers back then were made of sterner stuff. They've been through the Japanese invasion of Malaya, the communist insurgency, the Indonesian confrontation, racial riots, the curfew in KL in 1969, the uncertainties of economic downturns, and then some. Bringing us up under those conditions with a soft-hearted, often inebriated husband was, to say the least, demanding on any woman. She never complained, whined, or shirked her duties. She pushed on when times were tough. She never backed down when debtors showed up at the door, either or when she played kudu, a tontine, to save our house, or when faced with authorities like the registration department officer who racially profiled her and threw her for a loop over a minor indiscretion. She tried to instill that toughness in all of us. When I cried over a cut or fall, she'd brush away my tears and say, "Why? Small thing, one. Go bring the cotton and mercury chrome." Or when I was sent home one day from school sick with fever, she lifted my shirt. Only chicken pox lah. Why cry? I remember seeing my mother cry out only once. When a needle went clean through her finger while sewing on the Singer sewing machine. She needed an emergency rescue from one of us. I was too scared to try, and my older sister eventually pulled it out. She bandaged it and went right back to her sewing. With me at birth, my mother knew she was in it for the long haul. You see, I was born with clubbed feet, on two limbs facing inwards. It must have been harrowing to gaze down at that crib and confront the possibility that her youngest child would be handicapped forever. She faithfully took me to the general hospital to get his feet fixed through physiotherapy, the use of braces, and I'm vaguely recalling the late night oil massages until I was able to walk. As I grew older, I realized I'd done very little for my mom, maybe scored a few A's and carried her groceries. Once though, I saved up enough of my pocket money to buy her a pair of shoes for her birthday. I must have been 10 or 11. I went to the Bata shoe shop in Tunku Abdurrahman by myself, and the sales girl gave me a surprised look when I insisted on women's shoes. I even tried them on. I can't recall whether mom wore them or just stored them away. My mother, gave me club feet Julian the ability to walk, talk, a roof over my head, probably thousands of meals. And all I ever gave her were cheap shoes. She left a legacy of immense fortitude in a shoe size that these big, flat adult feet may never ever fill. My mother survived a 61-year-old roller coaster marriage that somehow stuck despite its ups and downs. Being a converted Catholic, divorce was never an option. She resolutely held on to adopted faith, attending Mass every Sunday until the very end. She lived until the ripe age of 84. In today's parlance, my mother really was a badass. I could never tell her that to her face. I think if she did, she would have asked to explain what that word meant, and she would have rolled her eyes and tut-tutted her disapproval like the chichak on the ceiling. I see her even now looking down on me, physically, one eyebrow raised, wondering why I still write and talk about her when I should be doing better things with my life. My mom's birthday was January 23rd, just one day after my own, January 22nd. I often joke that she was born one day after me. In her latter years, Mom and I often shared the same birthday cake. We would light it, sing the birthday song, and she would blow it out. Then the candles would be relit and repeated for me. This coming January 23rd, I will relight the candles on my birthday cake and blow them out on her behalf. I hope when I rejoin her and Dad, we will reminisce over the good old days as if I was a kid again and laugh together as a family. If anything, the very thought of the reunion feels like a warm, affectionate hug. A hug I've been missing now for 7 years. Goodbye. Goodbye, Mom. I love you.